direction.
Hey, welcome back to the channel. So we kind of got derailed with the generator project, so we kind of switched tracks and we're now departing on a different direction.
New project.
New project. That's a train of puns, if you get what I'm saying. So it may have something to do with trains. So it's been a hobby that I've had for, I don't know, probably since I was very young. And me and my dad were into it for a long time. And then it kind of got the brakes put on it. And all of a sudden now it's reactivated. So here we are again. Probably the first thing in the world along the lines of a shipping container train layout. I Googled it and I couldn't find anything where anybody had done a train layout in a shipping container. But here we are. So we have here a, let's pan around that way, Sprout. We have a 40-foot high cube container. This container is classified as wind and water tight, so it's a little on the cheaper side, which is why I'm freely modifying it to my needs. So basically, we'll kind of start here at the door. We've got a cabinet here, and that's doing the automation, the lights, the security system, the door access, all of that. And then we have another big monster cabinet here. I don't know if we can easily see this one without destroying everything, hopefully. Maybe not. I don't know if you can
come around over here.
Yeah, come around. We have a big, tall cabinet here, and it's basically just an industrial control cabinet. And the idea behind that is all of the layout controls are going to go in there. So instead of having everything under the table where you got to climb under there and screw around with everything, it's going to go in there. It's going to be on DIN rails, and you open the door and you'll have access to everything. So right now I've got a very crude mock-up of some digital control to actually control the layout. I've got a Raspberry Pi here running JMRI. That's actually talking to the computer over in the corner that's running the full-blown JMRI. That's the Java Model Railroad Interface, or whatever it's called. I got a Digitrax PR3, which is basically just serving as the interface or the modem between JMRI and the Digitrax control system, for allowing me to control the trains via the computer or our phones or tablets. Over here. We got the radar up so that we can film in between lake effect rain. It's the end of May, and we're still in a winter weather pattern. So I've got some Android tablets. These tablets are actually Magellan GPS navigation tablets, and I originally got these because they had GPS. I was going to integrate them with Home Assistant and put one in every one of my tractors so that I could watch the tractors drive around on a map. But I don't know, the docks for them were kind of not heavy duty enough to stand up to the vibration of being in the tractor. But these are perfect for running Engine Driver, which is the Android app that interfaces with all of the train control. So let me see if I can turn on the layout here. Yep, so that's that engine way down at the end there on the hill. That's not actually the one that's going to be running, but that's how we know that the power is turned on, because that one's got sound.
Where is it?
Up there.
Oh, up here?
Yeah. So, let me just bump that real quick. Oh, that's the, actually that was... So now we're going to have to listen to that thing idle for the rest of the video. So as you can see here, because this is a shipping container and I can do whatever the hell I want with it, I've got a line going up the side. Actually, got several lines going up the sides. That is a pretty severe grade for anybody who knows anything about model trains. But 3 powered engines, and it gets right up there with no problem, with hardly no wheel slip. That's PVC trim. So those are the AZEC PVC trim boards that you get at Lowe's, and I just screwed them in with some L brackets. They work well for that because they bend. So you're able to kind of bend them and curve them. Like, I don't know, can you get under this shelf here? And you see how that line under the shelf, as it goes up, it kind of goes wavy gravy. That was kind of a late night project. There may have been some additional liquid issues, liquid encouragement, you know what I mean? Another thing you may notice in here is like all this strut welded into the top of the container. So I had to cut and weld all that in, and I'm using that to support these shelves. Right now these shelves are full of stuff, but eventually these are actually going to be like scenery and different like industries and scenes and stuff, you know, for the actual train operation itself. Eventually there will be buildings and track and scenery on these shelves. So I'm using 1/4 inch threaded rod to hold that up. And in the back here, you'll notice there's some shelf brackets over there, and then under this foam there's also some shelf brackets. And there's going to be a big piece of MDF going across there. I'm going to see that standing up there on the side of the wall there, that MDF and the Homasote on top of it. And basically that's going to be a big shelf going across. And it's basically like a 4x8 area in itself. And that's going to be a big industrial switching area. I left my phone up there. I was going to turn the fan on. Big fan in the back to basically, that's just drawing ambient air through the container. Kind of a poor man's air conditioner. Eventually I'm going to paint the roof white, and that's going to help a lot with the heat issues, because right now this is just a regular container. Let me turn that engine off. I'll just turn the track power off right from here. There we go. So, yeah, it's all better. So this strut has a couple different purposes. It's supporting these shelves. It's going to support that big 4x8 table back there. And eventually, when the credit card gods allow, I'm going to buy some more strut, two rows of strut that are going to go parallel all the way to the end, and that's going to be an overhead trolley crane. And that's going to assist with moving the shelves and the modules in and out, you know, picking them up and then sliding them outside so we have a bigger area to work on them. Down in here, this whole area here where this plywood is going to be the roundhouse. So you can kind of see the roundhouse foundations. You know, I'm kind of laying things out to like mock them up and see where things are going to fit and how and that kind of stuff. That piece of plywood, I'm going to set that up I'm going to find the center of gravity of that piece of plywood and then put a stud in there, and then we'll be able to lift the whole thing out and then carry it with the overhead trolley crane so that we can pick the whole thing up and work on it somewhere else and just kind of roll things back and forth. I'm going to go grab one of those little doodads. There it is. So I got these on eBay. This is a little trolley adapter that goes up in the strut and it just rolls back and forth inside the strut. And I guess you got to buy 2 more of these because I don't know, when I saw the thing on eBay I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool, it looks large enough, but then when I got it and opened it up and saw how small it was, I was like, oh, I'm going to need more of these. So in order to do what I want to do, I'm going to build like a square frame, and then that's going to go into the trolley system, you know, the 2 overhead rails, And then from that, I'm going to build like some sort of like polar crane or like a rotating thing that I can, kind of reach out and, pick things up. And then also I'm going to make like a suspended seat. I don't know if it's going to be like a chair, like similar to a dentist chair where you sit or recline in it, and then you've got footrests. Not huge like that, very, lightweight and Spartan, so that, it's got to, hang from the ceiling and not take up a lot of room. Or maybe like an automotive creeper, that little thing you lay on when you have to wheel under your car and work on it. Something like that, if you had to get up high for a long duration and you didn't want to like stand on a ladder, because I got a ladder here that, I can kind of lean on the table, and I can, get in and work on stuff, just fine. But, sometimes there might be a time where you just don't want to do that for hours or whatever. Or if there's like something heavy you need to like lift up and then slide in or slide out. So that's the whole idea of the overhead trolley crane. So that's coming eventually. I gotta buy more strut. I gotta get 2 more of these things, and then figure out the framework to put that all together. So back here, this whole area, the layout, this is going to be a yard and kind of like a transition era engine facility, mostly steam but a little bit of diesel. So that's why I've got the coal tower and the water tower. I've got a couple switches here that I'm using just to kind of figure out the track plan and what everything's going to look like in here. This yard over here is kind of small, but it is what it is. That's the space I had to work with after I got the 2 tables in here. I say 2 tables because these layout tables, the bench work you're looking at here is, this was the south table in the original location. And you can see that this was a particular type of benchwork. That's the main benchwork company. They're still in business, I believe, and it's a modular, like screw fastener benchwork. And then the other table down here, this used to be the north table. That's more of a traditional like 1x4, all screwed together with regular legs and stuff. It used to be that was the north table. With that type of bench work. And then this was the south table back when it was in a house. And it had to leave the house because it just had to leave. So then along came the container. And then after it got put in the container, it's like, you know what? We might as well just continue with this and pick up where we left off. So now that we have a dedicated space that I can just have at it and let my mind run wild with all the creativity that's bustling and bursting out, that's how we end up with things screwed to the wall. I got a propane furnace back there in the corner. It's not actually hooked up yet. That'll be fun when it's time to hook that up. I got to build the plenum for that. It's a camper. Well, it's not a camper. It's a
single wedge.
Yeah, it's a trailer furnace for like a mobile home. So it's got the adapter that would go into the floor, that bolts onto the bottom of that furnace. So I need to basically just build the air box, and then that'll lift that furnace up a few inches. And then I'm going to duct it in under the layout so that it warms your feet when you're in here. Let's say, it's a cold day or it's in the winter or something. I got some more shelves over here. And that's going to continue over. You'll see there's another grade going uphill all the way to the end. And that up there, I believe, is where it starts to flatten out. Way up there, that is 6 feet 6 inches. And then that's going to do a roundabout, or I forget the word I'm looking for. It's going to loop back. So there's going to be a loop at the end of that, and it's going to come back this direction toward us, where we're standing right now. And it's going to be at 6 foot 6 because, similar to this shelf over here where it's all elevated, there is going to be a suspended yard, a classification yard. That's probably going to be like 2 feet wide or so. We'll figure out the actual width when we get to it. But there's going to be a yard suspended from the strut. And the bottom of that yard is going to be see-through acrylic, like plexiglass. So that you can see up into it and see what's going on. And it's going to basically, at the end of the container, it's going to be, you know, a 22-inch radius or 24-inch radius loop. And then as soon as it straightens out again, it's going to be yard all the way down to the other end. And then it's going to come around, and there will be a second tier of shelf up above all of this. So there's going to be even more stuff, you know, in this threaded rod configuration here. Another shelf of you know, different region of scenery. So because it's way up high, it's going to be mountainous, alpine type terrain. Think of the Rocky Mountains or British Columbia, that kind of thing, where it's like you're looking uphill through rock cuts and you know, tall pines and that kind of thing. We have here our little town and village. So in the transition area between the two tables, we've got a town. And I'm here to tell you this is a meme town. And basically, me and the Sprout sat around and we were thinking of all the different things and all the inside jokes and all the personality quirks that everybody, you know, that we know has. And we started deciding, you know what, we needed this, we needed that. So there's going to be buildings and businesses and taverns and all sorts of stuff that are, you know, based on everybody's, you know, funny, you know, little quirkinesses. Yeah, and interests. So there's going to be a very, you know, full, like old style Main Street USA scene in this area here. That's going to kind of transition somewhere in here into like a rural area where we're going to have rural. I can't say it. Whatever. It ain't working today. Fire department, town highway barn, you know, town hall, gas station, you know, kind of like a sort of like you're not fully in the sticks, but you're between like, you know, the city and the countryside, you know, that kind of stuff. So there's going to be quite a few buildings in here, and they're all going to have funny names and signs. A lot of inside jokes. This shelf is actually going to continue straight over and join up with that big 4x8 sheet that's going across at the end there. We're probably going to have some sort of bridge that originates in that area and goes up. Like I said earlier, this is all going to be like different scenes up here. It's going to be like the end there above the yard, that elevated area is going to be heavy industry. And then this 16-inch wide or 24-inch wide shelf or whatever that is, that's going to be the switching yard for that industry area. And that's going to come around, and there's going to be all kinds of industry, and then it's going to kind of sort of transition into countryside. And then by the time you get way down at the end here, it's going to be like a farm. And that's where we're going to model our, you know, wonderful chicken operation that we got here, right? Yeah. We're kind of using foam for some of our scenery here. I just started out with styrofoam back in the day, and that's what we're continuing with. So let's look at some of these rocks here. These rocks, you want to tell us about these rocks, Sprout?
These are my practice rocks.
These are your practice rocks?
Yes, I'm practicing making rocks out of foam, and then I paint them.
So that was just a chunk of foam, right? It was yep. Part of the scrap bin or the scrap pile, and I said, here, make rocks. So we watched some YouTube videos.
Yeah.
On how to make rocks, and Sprout got promoted to director of artwork. So
these are just practice.
So you did this in what, like an hour?
No, this took a little bit of
2
time.
hours? I mean,
hours.
I was in here when you did it. It didn't take no forever.
Well, no.
I mean, basically you just took the razor knife to it, right?
Yeah, and then just make shapes. And I painted this different color than my first practice. So I still want to work on the paint color because this doesn't look like very natural rock color. So
Some
I'm
of
gonna,
the highlights are a little.
yeah, I'm
high.
gonna be working on this to make it a little bit more brown and gray color.
That looks like rock.
But it's
I
nice.
gotta tell you.
It's nice.
I'm no geologist, but it looks like a rock to me.
Yeah, and there's different, you can't, it's like Bob Ross says, you can't mess it up. It's all happy accidents.
Happy accidents, right?
Yeah. It's all nice. It's nice to see the different, like, indents and some of these places I still, like I said, have to paint better. And then I got another one over here.
That one looks pretty good.
My first,
that was number 2, right?
that was my second
That was your
practice.
second attempt.
This is my first practice, which I actually like a lot better. It's a whole different type of rack.
Move this chair out of the way.
This one has a dark base. And then I put the greenery on it after all the paint colors.
Why don't we just bring it out into the light?
Yeah.
So that was
Nice.
another scrap piece of foam,
Yeah.
and you chiseled away on that for. That one took longer. I know that. That one. But looks like a rock.
This one has more of like a plate type look to it, like the types of rocks that would have water coming out of it.
Yep. And we're gonna do that at some point, right? We're gonna get some. What was it?
Drippies.
The resin.
Yeah.
And drip it on there.
Yeah, and then I glued in all these little mossy areas. It's nice.
Yeah.
It's got some
Looks like a rock to me.
different types of. Yeah. So eventually we'll be doing different types of rocks.
Yep, that's the
Over
plan.
there.
So basically, where you see foam all around Sproutville, that's the name of the town, Sproutville. Like when I said it was a meme town, I wasn't kidding because we got the Sprout here, so it's gonna be Sproutville.
I like this part. This looks real.
Good job. So the corner is its home, and
We'll put
you
more
see
around
it was
that.
foam. That was real foam. I mean, she didn't paint the backside, so there's proof. It's not like we just bought a rock on the internet. But we got to fill in, some areas around it. We're gonna dress that up, and when the scenery crew comes through here, we're gonna make that all nice and perfect. Real quick segue here, and then we're gonna kind of get into the inspiration here of how the train bug came back around. So this area here, I have a piece that fits in there. You'll see the network switch down in there. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So this hole is basically just an access to get in there closer for working on everything, but there is a module that's going to plug into there, and it's going to be flat. I don't know if we can see it down there or not. Yeah, it's like way back in the corner there. You see that plywood with the foam on top of it? That's the piece that plugs in there. That's going to be the power plant. So we're gonna have a big, massive coal-powered power plant. I already wrote Greta to let her know that we're building and commissioning a coal burning plant. She ain't too happy about it, but that's just how it goes sometime. We got a rotary dumper, so that dumps the cars. It turns them upside down and dumps them. It's gonna go right in this area here. So we're actually gonna. These 2 tracks here where we currently are storing trains on them, those are going to be for coal cars. You're going to bring loaded coal in. They're either going to be loaded with coal slag, which is like sandblasting media that you get at Tractor Supply, or I'm going to crush up charcoal, coal's baby brother. And the cars are going to come in here, they're going to rotary dump and actually empty out, and then you'll put empties on one string, the loads on the other, and this is actually going to be interactive. There's going to be a lot of stuff here that you're actually going to play with at the end of the day. So I'm going to automate and animate a lot of stuff using Home Assistant and ESP32 boards. So we got that to look forward to. We got that. That's going to be Lamana Soap Works, because the Sprout here likes to make soap. She makes handcrafted soap that everybody loves. And eventually we're going to be upgrading our roadside stand to a enclosed building that you can, well, it's not a building, it's like an Amish shed, but you can walk right in there. And then we'll have that for selling the soap and other stuff. And rumor has it I might actually start a train store too. I'm gonna DBA my LLC and start selling off a lot of this stuff we don't need. Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Oh God. All right. So here's how it happened. Here's how it went down. The stars aligned in kind of a weird way. So I had this big project where I was on the road, and multiple weeks at a time. So I was on Facebook and I kept seeing all these things about cats and everything, and I'm like, you know what? The Sprout's home alone. We should get a cat to keep the Sprout happy, keep the Sprout company.
Margot.
So we ended up getting this cat from the Humane Society.
She's a good girl.
And we'll show you the cat eventually, but her name is Margot Munchkin Burger. So she started out as Munchkin, and then she may have had some movie references added on to her name from a movie that I happened to like at the time. So this cat, however, looks just like the cat that's used for the Chessie artwork. So if you know anything about Chessie's system, and that logo there is a sleeping cat. It's a kitten. And basically their claim to fame was their passenger service and their passenger cars were so well maintained that you could sleep like a kitten as the train goes down the tracks at like 1,000,000 miles an hour. So when we realized, it was when I realized really, that this cat looked like Chessie, I was like, huh. So you can kind of see how everything's kind of converging, that the universe is reaching an inflection point where all these threads are coming back together and getting wound into the rope of time. So here we are again, and this train is rolling once more. So we'll see where it goes. Shipping container train layout. Probably not something you see every day. TV for security cameras. We got a speaker there for our overhead paging, so when things happen in Home Assistant. Let me see here. See, there's the end of May, and it's... Where's the thing? What am I looking for here? Oh, there it is.
Announcement.
We got sounds. I'm gonna try and so I built a whole nother Home Assistant server. It's built on a VM, and I'm gonna try and integrate that with JMRI because I'm seeing some things in JMRI involving JSON, which is like Java messaging, and I am gonna see if I can leverage that so that when events are generated in Home Assistant or by JMRI / the Digitrax, if I can send some messaging back and forth, and do some really cool automations and alerts. One of the things I want to try with that speaker is when the train, let's say the train goes over a defect detector on the main line, I want to have an actual automated message come out of there saying, like just like you would hear on the radio scanner in real life. Stuff like that. The other thing I got going on here is I got, you'll see the network switch down there. That's a Cisco 3750X PoE 48 port. That's on a UPS, so down in there I got a 1500 UPS with a big monster 24 volt battery. That battery actually came out of a 3K. There was a 3K in here, but it kind of died. So now I got the 1500. But the other thing is I got Home Assistant hooked into the switch, and let's see that light there, turn on and off. So I have PoE injectors that can run 12 volt out. I talked about that in some other videos, but I'm going to be utilizing this switch to do different things with the layout. One of which is, once all these shelves are up in there, I don't want it to be too dark, I'm going to put under cabinet LED lights under these shelves, and I'm going to use the switch to power those so that from Home Assistant I can turn them on and off as needed. And you know, there's going to be all sorts of automations hopefully happening between the layout and Home Assistant and everything else. So here, I'm going to give that back to the film crew.
Let's wrap it up
So
soon.
we'll wrap it up. So yeah, what's the phone say?
Well, we'd never press that, I don't think.
Oh, well, whatever.
Oh,
My screen
30
timed out.
30
30 minutes,
and
over half an hour. We better wrap it up because I got the director of filming had told me earlier to keep it brief so that people's attention span doesn't. I have a tendency to ramble in my videos.
Yes.
So there you have it, shipping container layout. Some longtime Utica train enthusiasts may recognize like this mountain and some of that other scenery. I'll get into that in a later video. Glad to be finally utilizing that stuff properly in a way that people can appreciate it and see it. So hopefully it's well received. But yeah, so this is where the hobbies are on the cold, rainy days, and I think we're on day 15 of rain here in central New York?
Who knows anymore?
It's the end of May, and we're still getting lake-enhanced rain. Basically, if it was cold enough, we'd be getting pounded with lake effect right now. So, whatever. So, until we catch you next time, hope you enjoy this change of track, and we'll get back to the projects shortly. Quick segue. I did get the propane carburetor for that generator project that I've been working on. It did not fit, but I did see how they modified basically an off-the-shelf carb. They just drilled a hole in the side of it and threw a barb fitting in it. So I was thinking, it's like, you know what? I can get a $20 carburetor on eBay for that motor, for the Kohler engine that's on the better generator. I'll get a $20 carburetor, modify it myself, problem solved. So that's what I'm going to do. So as soon as that carburetor shows up, that's going to be the follow-on of the generator project. So hopefully we get that back online here shortly. But yeah, this is it. So more videos to come. Hope you enjoyed this, and catch you next time. Take care.